Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. All about nutrition from your favorite dietitian. Everything you need to digest in your mind. Tips with Tony. Tips with Tony. Making you healthier one bite at a time. With Tony. Woo.
Hello, welcome to the Tips with Tony podcast. I'm Tony Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time. I'm going to give you a little bit of a warning that today's episode is not going to be rainbows and butterflies. It's actually going to be quite sad. However, hopefully it instills some hope. It instills support, inspiration, ideas, and connection, more importantly. Last week, the dancer that you may or may not know, his name is Twitch. His name is Steven, but he goes by Steven Twitch the Boss, and he is a dancer, like a very, very good hip-hop dancer, but he also learned to do other styles from participating on So You Think You Can Dance many years ago. Literally over 10 years ago, because I remember watching him with my best friend Alana, who is going to come into the story soon. So anyways, Twitch was a really great dancer. He also was the DJ for Ellen DeGeneres. He then went back later last year, just this past summer, was a judge for So You Think You Can Dance. He's just very well known in the dance community. And then him and his wife, Allison, who was also a contestant on So You Think You Could Dance, who's literally my favorite dancer. They're married and they have 2 kids. And I believe he has a stepdaughter who's older, who Allison had from a previous marriage or relationship. Anyways, you probably have heard by now that he died by suicide last week. And if you knew him, I didn't even know him, but I just watched his journey and I watched his growth and I watched his energy and his light and his talent and his joy and his spirit. And he was just like him and Allison. They obviously grew really big on TikTok, because TikTok's really known for dancing too. So I followed them on TikTok, I followed them on Instagram, and they're just feel good people. It's the pages you go to if you just want to be happy, honestly. And the way that people described him was that a light, joyful, lighthearted, fun, caring. He had so many close friends. So you question someone so loved, someone so famous, rich, what appears like they have it all, right? Which we never know everybody's stories and all that stuff. But to think that he was hurting behind all of that, he was hurting so badly that he decided to end his life. It doesn't make sense, right? It just doesn't make sense. And I think that's where people try to make sense of whether you want to call it mental illness, whether you want to call it depression. I don't even know what you want to call it, but it doesn't make sense because to me, he wasn't Twitch in that moment. It sounds like the darkness got a hold of him. And I'm sure, guys, we don't know anything. We don't even know. There's stories, and my best friend Alana died by suicide 10 years ago. And, I'll speak about her in a minute. But the point is even things she opened up to me about and the trauma she's had and the trouble she's had, I'm sure there was more that I still didn't know, right? I'm sure there was 3 other sides to each time she told me something, because that's just, we just don't know. So I'm not here to make assumptions about Twitch at all. His family, respectfully, like, not at all. I know so many people are talking about this because so many people are feeling it. It's heavy. He was a big influence, a big positive influence on a lot of people. You could almost argue, made the show Ellen so much better. And Ellen DeGeneres' show was already great. But all that to say, for someone of his energy to be hurting behind the scenes, to take his own life, it's hard to wrap your head around. I actually, to be frank, because not to dismiss mental health at all, but I did for a minute think, when there was there's still probably things going on about like it being a conspiracy theory, and it, maybe he was murdered and it was to look like a suicide, just because like that's how much it didn't make sense. Like that's how much it doesn't make sense. And so, but we go through denial, right? But unfortunately it was real. There was a note, and he apparently, and once again, we don't know. This is what the media tells you. We don't know what's going on for sure. But apparently there was a note, kind of alluding to some vague references about his struggles in the past. And I guess it caught up to him. And why am I talking about this? This is a nutrition podcast. This is not, technically not a mental health podcast, but you guys do know that, number one, your health is your mental and your physical health. And if you don't have your mental health, then your physical health to me means nothing. And as a registered dietitian developing into just a general, I think, entrepreneur, and my goal is to express myself as a human being, and to just, if there's something that helped me, I want to share it with you, because I know that people who follow me are probably looking for the same answers and wanting comfort and guidance, and to understand maybe a different perspective. So here it is. So why am I talking about this? Why do I feel the need to speak up about this? Well, 10 years ago, I was going to school to be a dietitian. I was in my graduate year, actually. I was in my dietetic internship. Things were going really great, actually. I was living out in the Hamptons because that's where the hospital was, where I was doing my rotations. I had my blog. I started being more prominent on YouTube. When I say prominent, I mean like posting consistently, not like I had a ton of followers or anything like that, but like just getting my voice, like I made my Tips with Tony Instagram account. I was doing really well in school. I was doing really good in my internship. Like, I felt really good. I felt really, really good. And at the same time, my best friend was struggling. It's a very long story, and it's her story. And, I usually don't like to tell other people's stories, and there's things I'm going to leave out of respect for her. But there are things that I need to speak up about because it's important. And I would say normally I would want, I don't want to ever speak anybody else's story, right? I want them to be able to speak it, but unfortunately she's not here to do that. So I do believe it's my responsibility and my duty to kind of pass on and talk about her in all the ways, and all the light and all the joy, but also the hard stuff that led to what ended up happening was eventually when she took her life. So, backing up, in high school, we were really, really good friends. We met in the 9th grade, and she was friends with some of my other good friends, and I got introduced to her, and I always thought she was so funny, and I was like, she's super cool, and she's different, down to earth. She was just great. She was just so great. I always just felt very connected to her. And so we started hanging out a little bit more. there was some rumors that she used drugs, and I was not even close to. I don't even think I smoked weed until I think I tried it. Maybe I was like 22 or 3. Like me and drugs were just never a thing. And it wasn't like any drug. Like there were rumors like she had struggled with heroin addiction. And I mean, once again, I don't know if I'm naive or what, but that just like is not a drug that I feel like a lot of teenagers use. I still like, it's crazy. So anyways, I heard about the rumors. As I got closer to her, she started opening up to me about it. She had gone to rehab before. She said it worked, but then it didn't. So she had relapsed. And then basically fast forward now, that was all the way back in high school. She ends up getting clean. She graduates from high school. She goes to Binghamton College. She graduates with honors. Like things are going really well for her. She gets an internship. Oh God, I forgot the name of it. Excuse me. Oh, BuzzFeed. Back then, BuzzFeed was super popular. She gets an internship for BuzzFeed. She's interviewing these cool celebrities. She's hanging out with cool celebrities. Like what seems like is living a great life in addition to, me and my best friend, my other best friend, who was in nursing school. I was a dietitian. She, Alana went on she was more doing like journalism. Then she like studied abroad in Europe, and like she was like happy. She was genuinely happy, and she was grateful and, excited and loving life. And the way she described it to me at the time was I think she didn't feel like she deserved to feel that good. And she was almost like scared of losing it all. So she almost like thought it was like too good to be true. And she ended up relapsing. And then finally went back to rehab. And we basically tried our best to support her while she was there. She had tried calling me a few times, but I didn't know it was her trying to call me, and I was busy with school. And finally, one day I kind of got a hold of her, or she got a hold of me, I should say. And I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't realize, like, it was you calling. If it was you, I would have definitely, like, whatever I was doing, I would have stopped and made time. And she opened up to me about some other things, and she ended up, now she was coming home and she was getting out and she was feeling, she was clean and all that, but she did say like she just feels like she screwed up and now she's like way behind. And because she felt behind, she just didn't feel like she was on me and my other best friend's level, because I feel like she feels like now we were going on now about to graduate and get our careers, where she felt like she almost had to like start over. But the reality is she didn't. She really didn't. But our brains lie to us, especially when we're in like a depressed state. Oh boy. So anyways, what ended up happening is she ended up overdosing on purpose. She wrote a note basically saying how much she loves us, her mom, her dad, everything. She just feels like it would be better if she wasn't here. It's so hard. It really is so hard to think about. I got a lot of my tears out this weekend, let me tell you. I got a lot of them out, which is why I feel like I can really talk about this without crying throughout the whole thing. because I know why I'm sharing this, but I feel like I'm sharing more than I had intended to share. And I guess it's because it's like, it's so hard to reason with, right? It's so hard to understand. And so sometimes I think by explaining things, it just helps you a little bit more to maybe, if you know someone who's struggling with depression or drug addiction or alcohol abuse, guys, drugs and alcohol are an scapegoat. There's usually trauma underneath that. Yes, there's hereditary things, but either way, whether the coming down from the high or, abusing alcohol causes the depression, or the depression is the thing that makes you want to escape, either way, they are not to be judged. We are there to help and to support and to do our absolute best to just be there for those who are struggling. And I don't know who I'm speaking to right now. I don't know if maybe you are someone who you have a family member or a friend who is struggling. And we know that sometimes, unfortunately, those who struggle, especially with drugs and alcohol, because they're not in the right headspace, they can be people who take advantage of you, steal from you. There was one time we had a party at my house in high school, and everybody left their bags on my bed, because that's just where it was, and we would go to the basement, and we all hung out in the basement. And Alana was the one who had found out or recognized that someone stole everybody's stuff inside the bags. And at the time, there was another friend of ours there, or a family friend of mine that was there, that unfortunately he ended up dying. He died 2 years ago, not by suicide, but by an accidental drug overdose. And I think back at that and I question, like, was it him? Was it Alana? Was it them together? Like, you don't know, right? But either way, we don't want to remember them as that, right? It's really important, I think, guys, to understand, like, they are not in their right minds, right? They are not thinking straight. And I also want to say that sometimes it's not that obvious. So, like, for example, me and my best friend and my other, like, we knew about Alana's drug addiction. Her parents knew about it, but nobody else knew, because she was very, very, very good at hiding it. Very good at hiding it. Until it got, like, really bad, like, right before rehab. But for the most part, nobody would have ever guessed that, because she was the life of the party. She was funny. She was engaging. It's not something that she did at parties. If anything, she did it behind closed doors, and it was... So, like, to talk about her this way, it's like, now I'm like, oh God, like, what are people going to think? But that's crazy, right? We can't judge others, and we can't judge ourselves. I mean, there's just so much entwined in this, and I know I'm scattered right now, but I just want you guys to know that you're not alone. Like, anything that you're going through, someone has, or knows someone who's going through it. And a couple things I want to say, like, just reach out and get help, especially if you are considering taking your own life. Please text or call 988. Text or call 988. Reach out to someone. And listen, if the person you reach out to is a complete butthead and they're not receptive or understanding, reach out to someone else. There is hope out there. There are people that care. There are people that want you there. And the other thing I will say is that anybody who has had a suicide attempt and was not, quote unquote, successful, it didn't work, literally, I've heard so many stories of people that come out and just say, thank God it didn't work. Thank God it didn't work, because now I have a family. Now I have a life. Now I have a passion. Now I have this, success. I have all the things. I have feeling again. I have an answer. I have a coping mechanism that's a healthy one. I'm so glad it didn't work, because I'm here to talk about it. And that's the thing, like, if Alana had not done that, if Twitch had not done that, like better things, good things, great things. We're there, we're coming, and we're, they have a purpose here. This is why, guys, this is why that saying, like, everything happens for a reason. I wrote about this on my Instagram account. I hate that saying sometimes because, like, this didn't have to happen. Both Alana and Twitch did not have to die by suicide. Like, they really didn't. And they are meant to be here. I think that we have to make meaning out of it to make ourselves feel better. And that's what happened when Alana died. I made a Facebook page for her. I spoke about it. I try to participate and talk about it as much as I can. And it's like, well, because you don't want it to be for nothing, right? It's like we have the duty and a responsibility to speak about it and make meaning from it because they deserve that, right? They look back and they didn't want to die. And I know that because I don't remember if it was maybe a year after Alana passed, we went to see a psychic medium. And this is not like we went one-on-one. We went in a group setting. And forgive me, I forgot the name of the medium, but he didn't know us. He didn't know anything about us. He did say in the beginning, like, I can't control who comes through. I can't control if and what they say to me. Like, I'll just tell you what they're saying. And Alana came through, and he said, she's telling me to tell you that she didn't want to die. She just didn't want to be in pain anymore. He went on to say, like, the pain was just too much. She didn't want to die. She just didn't want to be in pain. And that has been the thing that I think about the most. And I remember losing her, how painful that was. And I remember feeling so hurt and so, just not good. And I remember thinking to myself, imagine carrying that. Imagine carrying, like, that pain that I was feeling, the discomfort I was feeling, how sad I was, how heartbroken I was. I was like, imagine carrying this all of the time. I couldn't handle it for like a week. Like, throughout the funeral in the morning, like, she was dealing with this sadness for years. And I think that's bringing it back to Twitch now. Like, imagine having it all, quote unquote. The wife, the house, the kids, the career, the fame, the all of these great people in your life, but yet still feeling sad or still not feeling anything or whatever it was that he was feeling. It was like he felt this pressure or this need to have to show up in a certain way. But meanwhile, he was actually hurting behind the scenes and he just didn't want to hurt anymore. And that's why they say rest in peace. Like, they just want to rest. They don't realize that there are resources here on earth. They don't realize that they can take a break. They don't realize that it is okay to slow down. You can stop. Like, there are things that you can do, but they get caught up in the pretending, putting on a face, staying up, keeping up with the world. And unfortunately, he was just tired. He was just tired. When we're tired, we become weak and we make decisions that are not, they're not what we actually want. We become confused. We become lost. And that's how I described it on my Instagram when I wrote that caption. If you want to you can go take a look at tips_with_Tony with an I. And just basically explaining, like, they got engulfed in the dark. even though they're so bright and so light. They didn't even realize that they're the ones who put the light out there. They're the fire starters. Things just got too much. Man. Well, okay. So why am I saying this? If you are struggling, if you have thoughts, suicidal thoughts, please text 988 or call 988. I don't even know what, I can't really, my advice is to reach out, really. I want to say go to therapy too. Maybe you have found a therapist you trust and love. Maybe you haven't yet. Keep searching. Where there is life, there is hope. And suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I promise you, you will get through this. I promise. Just one more day, one more minute, one more hour. Just hold on. Just hold on. Please, I'm telling you, people love you. You do matter. You are important. You are special. You are loved. You are unique. The universe loves, God loves you. I'm sorry, I am religious, so I'm going to just throw that out there. You got to believe in something bigger than yourself. Whether it's God, the universe, anything, you have to believe in something bigger than yourself. It is what will keep you going. There is a reason why you're struggling. I will say that. And sometimes the reason doesn't mean that it had to happen. So for example, you could be struggling because of trauma. You could be struggling because of things that were not your fault. Things that you did not deserve and do not deserve. Right? Or maybe you did do something bad. Maybe you're holding on to guilt or shame because maybe you did wrong by someone. Maybe you were the abuser. Either way, you are forgiven. It is okay. Let it go. Guilt and shame will not bring you anywhere that you're meant to be. And I think if you've lost someone to suicide before, then you know that guilt comes with that. Even if we try not to. I was crying on Saturday. That's when all this came. I mean, we've been crying a little bit each day, but Saturday it's because it's like in 10 years, it's like I haven't really processed her death. It's like Twitch's death brought up everything that I have suppressed for the past 10 years. And part of it was thinking like, could I have been a better friend? And honestly, the answer is yes. I mean, I didn't know any better then, but now that I know better, and maybe, she wouldn't say this. She would tell you I was one of her greatest friends. She loved me. She said right before, she texted me the day before, she said, I'll always love you, right? I was like, yeah, of course. Of course I know that. But I didn't see the signs. I didn't realize that was her plan for the next day, and that's why she was reaching out. So if you have someone reaching out to you and it almost seems out of the blue, or even not, just stay in contact with your friends. Not from this place of like fear that they're going to do something terrible, because that's not really helpful for you either, but just be connected. So like where I was reflecting, so I was crying because I was thinking about like how I could have been there for her better, how I could have picked up the phone maybe, or because she also posted something on Facebook, and it was like, it it's like you look back, right? Hindsight's 2020. You see the signs now, but it is really hard to predict. I mean, I will tell you, it doesn't seem like Twitch gave any signs other than he left the house and didn't answer his phone, which was not like him, but there was no time. His poor wife, Allison, went to the police station the next day, didn't even call 911, just went straight there and just said something's wrong. And she knew, but it was too late. But it's like these decisions are made so quickly. But all that to say, have open communication with your family and friends that you trust, that you love, and make an effort to create space for them. So that was the thing I kept reflecting on. It's that, I was so busy. I was in my internship. I was in graduate school. I was honestly up my own ass, excuse my French, but I was like, dating some guys, and I was just like, I don't know, I was disconnected. And I look at my life now, and not much has changed that much, in the sense of I'm very busy. I'm doing a lot of things. And I wish I could say I was leaving space for fun, for friendship, for connection. And although I get that a little bit within my work, I'm not creating any space for that outside of my work. And that's my commitment for 2023 and beyond. And now, I really say now, I don't need to wait a couple of weeks to start. But I'm creating space, and I've been, I'm going to reach out to my friends more and maybe try to plan some trips with them, because unfortunately now all my best friends live in different states, which if you know anything about that, it sucks, especially when they're now married and having babies and all you want to do is like squeeze the baby. Because you feel like because you're like your best friends, or you're like aunts to their kids, or uncles. So anyways, that's my lesson. And I hope it's yours. Just be there for your friends. Reach out, love on them, create space for them. And then you too. It's okay for you to share. It's okay for you to talk about when things aren't going well. Right? Because none of this stuff just happens overnight. Even though the decision happens maybe within, a night or stuff, they've been thinking about it. They've been planning about it. They've been, struggling year after year, day after day, month after month, whatever it is. And it doesn't just happen overnight. There are many, many opportunities for you to get help, to be helped, or to give help. Right? I was about to say I'm sorry that this episode wasn't, chippery. But you can't be sorry for that, because this is life, right? Not everything is rainbows and butterflies. And if you don't talk about when it's dark out, and you don't talk about the sad stuff, and you don't talk about the real stuff, then life is all, it appears like it's, dandy. And if you don't feel dandy, then you feel like an outsider. And this is why we have people who struggle with depression and mental health. So, I see you. I love you. I pray for you. Thank you so much for giving me space to share this with you. And I'll see you on social. Hope you're listening, subscribing, so you get other episodes. And talk to you soon. As always, this is Toni Marinucci, your registered dietitian, helping you get healthy one bite at a time.